Coach, to begin the episode, on the radio this morning, Ashley Brown, good friend of mine, I know you know Ashley well, he gave an update about University of Georgia and Georgia Tech playing in the kind of the play-in rounds of their conference tournaments, but there are some teams in Georgia and South Carolina that are less well known that have clinched berths in the national tournament, and that kind of caught my eye. We've been talking about some of them, but what's on your mind here as we get into conference tournament play?
Well, Chad, you brought up a very good point, and that's the fact that I don't know, or I do know, I've never known college basketball to be as competitive as it is right now in parity across the board, across all conferences, across all divisions. It used to be, and if you were a Division I school and you won 20 basketball games, you were almost guaranteed a spot in the NCAA tournament. And that was a successful year. That number now might be somewhere around 25 games to get in the NCAA tournament. What's happening in the state of South Carolina and Georgia, outside of what Georgia Tech, or Clemson, or University of South Carolina might be doing, Kennesaw State has had a heck of a year on their way to their first NCAA Division I berth. Beating Liberty at home for the championship was a phenomenal game. The best crowd ever to see a Kennesaw State game, close to 4,000 people. And I will say again that the atmosphere and the crowd did, in fact, make a difference. Then you take somebody like the College of Charleston, who's in South Carolina as well. They're 31-3, man.
Most wins in Division I.
He's 31-3. That's tremendous. Furman, another team who has been playing tremendous basketball, just won the Southern Conference on their way to an NCAA, showing 27-7. UNC Asheville, another team who just won the Big South tournament. They are 27-7. So Kennesaw 26-8, Asheville 27-7, Furman 27-7, and the sad thing, if Kennesaw, Asheville, Furman don't win their conference tournaments, they're probably not in the NCAA.
Right.
Which goes again to talk about the fact again is that what's going on here? Is it fair for the Big 12 or the Big 10 or someone else to get 7 or 8 teams in the tournament, and these teams with tremendous records not make it? That's an argument to be had. Maybe it should be that the big conferences only get 5 teams in. Mm-hmm. You talking about making it more competitive, trying to be one of 5 teams in the league to get, instead of getting 8 and 9, and leaving some people out that might not need to be in.
That College of Charleston game last night, to your point, when it got over, Charleston won, most wins in Division I, and the analyst back in the studio said, I was rooting for them to win because I didn't want to see these guys, this selection committee, not include them as an at-large bid. So it's on the top of everybody's mind that watches those conferences play.
And that gets me back to the point that we talked about early in the year, is that the NCAA expanding the field from, 68 now to 90. I think they could expand the field to 110, 120 easily and still have a tremendous tournament. And that's an argument for Division II. I know a lot of people talk about regionalization in Division II and how fair is it, but you really have a sense of how good the basketball from a regional perspective. For like Augusta University, hosting the regional tournament, number 1 in the region, but 4 teams out of the Peach Belt Conference make it. If Virginia Wise upsets Emmanuel, and wins the Carolina Conference, because Pembroke gets upset by Belmont Abbey, and if Virginia Wise wins against Maine and beat Belmont Abbey, North Georgia don't go to the tournament.
Right.
But, it's like in the Southeast Region Division 2, 3 teams are ranked in the top 25.
Yeah.
Augusta at 10, I think Pembroke at number 6, and Lincoln Memorial at 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And so again, man, it's just Chad basketball is so darn competitive, and there's so many things happening. And before we get to the top 25, I mean, there are some records out there, Chad, that's unbelievable. Toledo is 25-10. Montana State is 24-9. UNC Wilmington 24-10. Hofstra 24-9. UAB 23-8. North Texas State, North Texas 25-6. Kent State 25-6. And the sad part, some of these people will not go anywhere because they don't win their conference tournament. I have a top 30, and I call it the woulda, coulda, shoulda been people. And you look at it, and in this is kind of interesting. I got teams, a number of them will make the NCAA tournament, like Kennesaw, UNC Asheville, Furman, Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns are 26-7. But you got people like Toledo 25-6 and North Texas 25, Liberty 26-8. Should Liberty be left out the NCAA tournament?
Right.
Probably will, but wow.
Yeah.
Colgate 25-8, UC Santa Barbara 24-7. The Iona Gales under Rich Pitino are darn good. Right. Now remember last year, Iona missed the tournament because they got upset by St. Peter's. Right. But remember the run that St. Peter's made. St. Peter's
and
made.
that conference probably hasn't had their tournament yet.
Yeah, they're finishing up tonight, I believe.
Okay.
Sam Houston State, Utah State 24-7, Utah Valley 24-7, Fordham 24-7. Then you got Clemson, University of Southern California, Santa Clara 23-9, NC State, Grambling, a team in the SWAC, is 22-8, and that's difficult to be 22-8, especially when you have to prostitute yourself early to get money gains. Yes. For them to be 22-8, you got Kentucky, Pitt, Auburn, all will probably make the NCAA tournament. Vermont traditionally have won 14 in a row. They're 22-10. The sad thing, if they don't win the conference tournament, I think they're number 2. They'll get left home, but they're good.
Yeah.
TCU, Xavier, Providence, Creighton, all those guys will probably make the tournament. But yet, should other teams be getting now? The last 5 teams I got in my top 25 are Memphis 23-8. I know they're not on it, but Memphis has a good basketball team. Lost to Houston by 2 last second shot. VCU 24-7, Charleston 31-3, Missouri 23-8, St. Mary's 26-7. Those are the 5 teams I have in my top 25 that are 21 through 25. Now, a lot of people are talking about seedings, and it's going to be very interesting on Sunday how it all plays out, or who gets the number 1 seeds, who gets the number 2 seeds, and all of that. I know a lot of people are like Alabama should be a number 1 seed. I'm not one of those people. Yeah. I think Alabama has a good team. I just think they got a lot going on right now, especially with the Miller kid, who was SEC Player of the Year, and all that's going on there. But my top 5 teams, or my top 4 teams, are Houston at 1, UCLA at 2, Kansas at 3, Marquette at 4. Now, for me, any of those 4 can be number 1 seeds. Mm-hmm. And then take my next 4 as number 2 seeds. I think it's not a stretch, but some will be Texas, Purdue, Arizona, and I have Miami. Yeah. I think Miami stumped their toe against Florida State, lost on the last second shot after being up by 18 in the second half, kind of fumble it off, and Florida State got the win. And people don't know that's a big rivalry, especially with Leonard Hamilton once being the coach at the University of Miami and able to get that win. I was so happy for Coach to do that. But at the same time, Miami has a Final Four caliber team. Then you take the 3 seeds I have is Alabama, Gonzaga. Gonzaga's come on like gangbusters.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the way they won their conference tournament by beating St. Mary's by 25.
77-51 last night.
But they were up 35.
Yeah.
Then they put all the subs in about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that was a 30-point beatdown. The other thing about Alabama, I'm going to have a number 1 seed. At the end of the day, what sticks in my mind is that an Oklahoma team who was just toward the end of the Big 12 beat Alabama by 35.
Yeah, they did.
So that bothers me a little bit. And then of course I got San Diego State, who 24-6. I know a lot of people don't give them, but they can play. Baylor is good. Texas A&M, Buzz Williams has done a tremendous job.
They beat Alabama last weekend.
Right, and I think Buzz might have been named SEC Coach of the Year.
Okay.
And if he shouldn't, he should have been.
I agree.
Then you take a team like, and they won't get a 4, 5, or 6 seed because of who they are, but you cannot dismiss an Oral Roberts team that's 30-4.
Yeah.
You know, they came to the NCAA tournament, I guess, 2 years ago, and made a heck of a stand. One of the hottest teams in the country right now, and I think people need to realize, is Duke.
Yeah.
Duke's come back in a big way, and they're 23-8. UConn's playing very, very well. Another team to look out for is punched their ticket to the dance. Drake,
Okay.
27-7, plays in the league with Bradley that you and I talked about over there. Bradley's pretty good. Bradley beat Drake the last regular season
I think
game.
Bradley was the 1 seed in the Missouri Valley, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then Drake ended up winning the Missouri Valley. Tennessee, I have it 19, but Tennessee's on a downward spiral. Florida Atlantic, come on. Florida Atlantic is 28-3. So the thing that gets me is that I don't know how Charleston can go 31-3, Florida Atlantic 28-3, and Oral Roberts 30-4.
Yeah.
And people gonna say, but look at the leagues they're playing. But I guarantee you, Oral Roberts, Florida Atlantic, and Charleston would not end up in last place in some of the Power 5 conferences.
Right.
If you took them right now and said, okay, everything's even. One of the things that's tough for mid to low majors is that it's tough to get quad 1 games on your home floor.
Yeah.
So you end up somebody paying you some money to come to their home floor, you know, and they pay you to come to the home floor because they're looking for a win.
Yep.
And so, you know, Oral Roberts, College of Charleston, VCU, they're not going to get people coming to their place. They're going to have to go to places. And until big-time college basketball figures that out, that's going to be a flaw in how teams are selected for the big dance. And so there's so much going on. I mean, I'm just really excited. This week will be a big week because, of course, it's tournament time. And I would venture to say the 1 and 2 seeds in most tournaments are not going to be the tournament winner.
Peach Belt was an example. You know, you had the 2 playing the 4 in the championship game. The 1 and the 3 are gone.
Yeah, 1 and the 3 are gone. And so, you know, I just think that's boy, it's just a very tough time right now for teams because there's somebody in the Big 10, the Pac-12, the SEC, the ACC, who might not be considered to win the tournament, who will be playing in the championship game.
Yeah.
Like last year, Virginia Tech basically plays into the tournament and comes in like it is an 8th seed or something, win 4 days, and win the ACC. Get ready. Some stuff like that's going to happen this weekend. And what is that going to do to the turmoil
Yeah.
of people,
Right.
getting ranked and everything.
Well, it makes me think. Last night, I just realized this: College of Charleston, even though 31-3, most wins in Division I, they were the 2 seed in the Colonial behind Towson. Now
Yeah.
Towson got upset in the semis, so they College of Charleston beat UNCW last night. One thing about the College of Charleston that I'll say real quick, we're coming up to your point. We're in the conference tournament week now. We're coming up on the NCAA tournament. One of my favorite things is when that NCAA tournament comes and the announcers and the storytellers start telling you the inside stories of some of these teams that we don't know so well. Mm-hmm. And the one that I can't wait to hear about College of Charleston that, I meant to do more research before we came in, but they keep saying, I keep hearing that they're doing this with transfers, not just transfers, but like D2 and D3 transfers. Oh, yeah. And so I can't wait to hear that story. It's common for the Division I guys to transfer around, but moving up from D2 and D3 into Division I and winning the most games in the country, I can't wait to really learn about that story.
There's a lot of stories out like that, Chet. There's a guard at South Alabama who transferred from Franklin Pierce, Northeastern 10 Division II school, out of, I think it's New Hampshire.
Okay.
And he's a great player.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Guard shoots like 32% from the field, but averages 24 a game.
Yeah.
Because, he just drives it, very crafty and creative with the basketball. And also, the transfer portal has changed basketball beyond anything we could ever imagine. Basketball at the collegiate level will never be the same based on what's happening in the transfer portal, because the bigger schools will continue to get stronger because they will continue to rob the smaller
right.
divisions of schools, Division 3, 2, and low and mid Division 1 teams to fill their team.
Yeah.
And so a guy like Darius McGee, from Liberty, who didn't play well in the championship game, only had 12 points.
Okay.
At Kennesaw, had 43 the last time they played.
Yeah.
Been over 44 times this year,
right.
over 43 times last year. There's no way in the future that he ends up spending 4 years at Liberty. Although he's 5'9", he's undersized, but he's a heck of a player.
Yeah.
I tell you, team, a lot of people don't talk. SEC people get ready. The dark horse and the team nobody wants to play in the SEC tournament now is Vanderbilt.
Okay, yes.
Nobody wants to play Vanderbilt right now.
Yep.
Now, Vanderbilt took it on.
And they'll be in their hometown.
Yeah.
The tournament's it's not played at Vanderbilt, but it's in Nashville. Yeah.
It's in Nashville at the Coliseum there, or the Civic Center.
Yeah.
And people, Lime Rollins, the big kid, 7-foot kid, he's out. He's through for the year.
Okay.
But Stackhouse, being a pro-minded guy, are used to injuries and everything. And now, basically, what he does, he starts like 4 guards.
Yeah.
And they spread the floor.
Yep.
And they're difficult to guard. And one of the kids that's a really good player is from Monticello, County.
Morgan County, Tyron Lawrence.
Lawrence, 6'4". He can really play.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm thinking about, here's a kid from Morgan County who's at Vanderbilt, and you're saying if he's smart enough to be at Vanderbilt, why he's not at Georgia Tech, like the University of Georgia?
Right.
And I think some people are missing the boat. Now, I probably make some people mad right now, but the guard at Putnam County can play.
Yeah.
He can really play.
Yeah, and he's going to Georgia
and
Southern.
He's going to Georgia.
His name's Aaron Banks.
Banks going to Georgia Southern. Now, what will be interesting is that will Aaron Banks be at Georgia Southern 4 years from now? Mm-hmm. I don't know, but I think he's a heck of a basketball player. Yeah. The young lady at Laney that we talked about over there, she scored 50 points in a high school game.
Kiara Turner.
Yeah, and one of her teammates is like burning it up at
Gardner-Webb. Jessica Williams, player of the year in the Big South.
Big South. Yeah. Come on, guys.
And they just won the tournament.
They just won the tournament, NCAA. So, again, don't let ESPN top 100 and all of that, convince you on who to recruit.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of talent running around the state of Georgia and South Carolina. But one of the most disappointing things this week for me has been reading about the John Morant situation, and that's concerning. John, of course, a great player out of Sumter, South Carolina, but it lends you to think, Chad, is that I always wondered, said, why wasn't John Morant recruited by South Carolina schools, or North Carolina schools, or Georgia schools, and ended up at Murray State? I don't know.
Right.
Might have something to do with what we're finding out now, you know. And so it's a lot going on, man. But I tell you what, college basketball is more competitive than I've ever seen it, and we need to get ready. And I want people to come out this weekend. I know A.D. Onslager at Augusta University talked about it some the other day. In order for Augusta University to win the region, they're going to need a big-time crowd.
Yeah, and so people should definitely know Augusta, hosted the Peach Belt Conference tournament last week, won all 3 games by double digits, finished 26-5 Peach Belt Conference champion, 10th in the country, and now they host the Southeast region, the first 3 rounds of the NCAA tournament. The worst thing in the world, Coach, for anybody in that position would be to get upset early and then have to watch the other teams play rounds 2 and 3. So come on out and watch Augusta and cheer them on to victory in each of those 3 rounds. They play at 5 o'clock on Saturday against Emmanuel, the 8th seed. Interesting thing about Emmanuel, lots of interesting things. One is we played them one time each of the last 5 seasons. Augusta's won 4 of those. But you know, you're talking earlier about Vermont winning 14 straight, and teams that have great seasons possibly being left out of the tournament. And you said if UVA Wise would have upset or beaten Emmanuel in the Conference Carolina championship game, the other thing that could have happened in that scenario, they could have left North Georgia in and excluded Emmanuel. Emmanuel wasn't I don't understand this, but they weren't in the top 10 in the region rankings, even though they finished. They ended up finishing 23-7, a great record. And we know by experience it's a fine team. Emmanuel's won 16 straight. If they would have lost that conference championship game, there's a chance they would have been left out. But what a draw for Augusta, by the way. 16 straight for Emmanuel. They've got the leading scorer in the country, and that's who the Jags drew in their first round.
Yeah, it's going to be it's an exciting time of year, and people don't realize how tough it is to repeat. And kudos to Coach Metris and his team by hosting the Peach Belt Conference Tournament 2 years in a row, winning it, and being able to host the Southeast Regional as the number 1 seed this year. Man, it's just, people don't realize how tough that is to do. And to be at 26-5 right now is a great, great year. If the season ended right now, it'd be a great, great year. But I know those guys have sights on going even further, and I hope for them to best. Tyshawn Crawford has been unbelievable. He did not let not being player of the year in the Peach Belt handle his performance. I think Coach Metris called it somebody poked the bear.
Yeah.
and what they've done is that he's on a mission now.
Yeah.
And I think he went over 30 twice in the conference tournament. 31
points, 9 rebounds in the championship game, 23 points, 13 rebounds in the semis, named tournament MVP for the 2nd year in a row. He's not only is he a great player, but he's all those guys. The 4 seniors were interviewed after the game, and they were all so gracious. What Tyshawn said, he just barely touched on it. He said, I might not have been named Player of the Year, but back-to-back champion sounds better to me.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, so what Augusta is doing is unreal. I think what Kennesaw is doing is unreal. I'm so happy for teams in our region to be doing very good.
Furman, first time, and we think about 40 years we saw it recently.
I think Furman might have not have been to the tournament since the 90s.
Yeah.
Or the 80s.
I think it's the 80s, early 80s.
It might have been 80s. It might have been when they had Jonathan Brooks out of Charleston and Mel Daniels out of Saluda. They had some really good basketball teams back in those days. And so it's just good to see this. And it's going to be interesting who the top one or two or three seeds are. But it's also going to be interesting to see where those teams fall between 8 and 12.
Yeah.
That's where people and their brackets going to become very interesting. And next week we'll sit down and talk about brackets and all of that.
We're gonna have a challenge.
Yeah,
get some people to submit brackets.
Brackets and everything's going. But that's going to be very interesting because I think last year people felt like after the first round, everybody's brackets got blown up.
They did.
I mean, at the first couple of games, everybody like, oh, God, they got blown up.
That's an annual occurrence.
Now, I think this year it will be the same,
Yeah.
and that's something I think we can get used to.
Yeah.
Because in that group, believe me, there's a St. Peter's in that group.
Yeah.
And it's ironic where, 10, 12 years ago, Gonzaga was considered Cinderella.
Yeah.
Gonzaga's no longer Cinderella.
They're blue blood, basically.
And then we're sitting here looking at the end of the year, and Kentucky is starting to make a move.
Yeah.
They're playing better.
Kentucky and Duke are in the top 25 AP now.
Right, and North Carolina struggling.
Yeah.
They couldn't be in a position. They don't make the tournament.
Yeah.
But I don't count them out.
Yeah.
With the ACC tournament being in Greensboro.
Yeah.
So tell me how that would go.
Yeah, and that's I've got two more things to cover, and I was going to ask about Clemson first. Maybe we'll finish that. Just their chances at an at-large bid. But to your point about the Greensboro ACC tournament, just a classic gathering that everybody focuses on every year. What conference tournament are you most looking forward to watching this weekend?
I think all of them. I mean, it's just one of those things, Chad, where I think there's so much going on in the Big 10, the Big 12. The ACC is going to be, the Big East is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The Big East is, everyone's talking about Marquette and basically UConn.
Yeah.
But you can't. Providence has lost 3 in a row, and Ed Cooley, they're gonna be ready to play this tournament.
Creighton
is good.
Fun
Xavier,
teams. Yeah.
Xavier is good.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be interesting. And Clemson, I mean, Clemson is the number 3 seed. And what was funny about the ACC, Pitt and Miami were playing Saturday night for first place.
Yeah.
Whoever won the game would be the number 1 seed, which Miami won. Pitt lost, and they're the number 5 seed.
Gotcha.
You go from playing for number 1 to being number 5.
Right.
And that's interesting. And then you take Clemson, and people saying, they're a bubble team. They might not get in. I said, well, if North Carolina, Duke, NC State, God, if any of those guys, Virginia, would have ended up 3rd in the ACC regular season, I don't think people be talking about they're a bubble team.
Yeah.
Don't think the ACC is necessarily down because North Carolina hadn't played. And guess what? North Carolina still won 19 ball games.
Yeah.
There's not. Well, the expectation preseason, final game, national finalists last year.
Yeah.
Preseason pick number 1. Oh, what a terrible day it is! But yet, and you have to realize teams that have normally played well in the ACC, 2 in particular, had terrible years.
Yeah.
Louisville,
Yeah.
Florida State.
Yeah.
And so people figured, okay, North Carolina, Louisville, and Florida State are not as good as theirs, so the ACC is down. But don't take away the fact that Pittsburgh has played very well this year.
NC State.
And Clemson have played very well.
Yeah.
And you take Miami, Virginia, Clemson, Pittsburgh, NC State, and then Duke.
Yeah.
You got 6 teams, all very capable of playing an NCAA tournament and should be an NCAA tournament, but the ACC tournament will make a I still feel Clemson has to win a game or two. If they win a game or two, they'll definitely be in.
Yeah.
If they lose in the first round, they're going to leave it up to some people in the room with the doors closed to make a determination. So, I don't know, man. It's good. I'm worried about Tennessee. Tennessee hasn't been playing good. Tennessee hasn't been playing good in the SEC tournament. Again, if I'm SEC school, don't want to play Vanderbilt. They play different than everybody else. Texas A&M's awfully good. Kentucky's making a move, and then you can't count out Arkansas, Mississippi State. Oh God, what Arkansas, Mississippi State? There's somebody else down there in that whole thing. Kentucky, Arkansas, Mississippi State. Any of those guys can beat you in the SEC tournament. And then the last thing is that the NIT this year is probably going to be as competitive as ever. Yeah. And then those, I don't want to call them minor tournaments, but the ones that they kind of pay money to be in.
CIBC,
CBI and everything. Yeah. But Rick Giles runs out of Princeton. They run that tournament. It'll be interesting to see the people in that tournament. Yeah. That tournament's going to be more competitive than it's ever been, because there are going to be some people with 23, 24 wins in that tournament.
Well, one little story about that is, the guy was at Detroit Mercy that was ended the season 4 points shy of Pistol Pete Maravich's all-time scoring record, and I knew when I saw that, I said they're going to get in the CIBC, and then about a day later, it was like, they're going to play in one of these postseason tournaments, so he'll break that record.
Some people are talking about it, and the kid is Antonio Davis. This is Mike Davis's son.
Yeah, you told me that. I forgot.
And he's been a great shooter. And he missed some shots late that he normally make. I watched that game.
Okay.
And so it'd be interesting to see. I think what that tournament does is they put them in. It'll give it just an extra boost of him breaking Pete's record.
Yeah, people will watch the game for sure.
But the game of basketball has changed over the years. Of course, the shot clock and the three-point shot has changed the game tremendously. And now we come in with the transfer portal, and every night when you watch a game at any level, people are talking about people who have transferred schools, and they are making a difference in basketball. Sure. And the thing now is that the other thing I want to talk about, the coaching carousel has begun. Yeah. Kudos to Mike Bray at Notre Dame. College basketball has known no finer gentleman than Mike Bray. And talking about gentlemen, college basketball lost a Hall of Famer and all-time good guy and coach Terry Holland from the University of Virginia, who passed last week at 80 years old. But Mike Bray exemplifies what's happening in basketball, in sport of basketball, and how much a difference coaches make. Al Young, North Augusta girls basketball coach, who won the state championship.
5th championship in 7 seasons.
But what a tremendous guy in person, and what guidance he is to those young ladies that he coaches. What Westside won, didn't it?
Westside will play Thursday. In my opinion, they're a heavy favorite over a school called Providence Christian. They beat Columbia. Westside beat Columbia in the semis, and a lot of people have been saying that was kind of the state championship game.
So Westside has one more game?
One more game.
Is anyone else in the area still playing? I know
Augusta Christian won the South Carolina Independent School Association state championship. You mentioned North Augusta winning their 5th SCHSL Class 4A championship in 7 seasons, and then Westside will be the 3rd likely state champion in the area.
Well, Coach Hunter does a tremendous job, and he is another example of a coach who really cares about his players. And he's not only developing good basketball players, he's developing kids with character. Yeah. And that makes a difference. And so we need to be supportive of our high school programs and our college coaches as well, because it's a lot going on. It's a lot to deal with. And being able to not only pull teams together for them to be competitive and they can win, but trying to make sure you keep out all the noise. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Keep out all the noise, from around your teams, and then a lot of stuff that's going on. One of the things as we finished up the month of February, I thought a couple of things. A guy named Stu Jackson.
Yes.
Stu Jackson, who I've known since the 70s.
Yeah.
He was an assistant coach for Pitino at Providence and coached the Knicks and coached the Wisconsin Badgers and everything else. He was just named commissioner
Okay.
of the Western Athletic Conference.
Neat.
And I thought that was it. And then last night in the Gonzaga St. Mary's game, it was the first time in a Division I conference that the all referee and staff was made up of African Americans.
Okay.
The first time
I'm shocked
ever.
that would be the first time.
First time ever.
Yeah. I'm
in
shocked.
a conference championship
in a
game.
conference championship game. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I thought those were two pretty good stories.
Yeah.
And then Stu being able, and Stu came here to Augusta when Michael Curry, who's an assistant at Vanderbilt.
Yes.
now,
Yes.
when Michael Curry was put into the City Classic
Oh, neat.
Hall of Fame.
He was here for that. Wow.
He was here.
Keenan,
He
I
entered-
think, introduced
me.
Introduced you,
Me.
who introduced
When I-
Mike.
and then Stu Jackson when Mike was inducted, he introduced
That's great.
Michael Curry, and so happy for Michael Curry and the people at Vanderbilt, and pay close attention. I think we'll sit next week and we'll talk about not only the conference games. The Big Ten, man, come on with the Big Ten. Penn State has a shot in the Big Ten.
yeah.
Michigan State,
Yeah.
Michigan.
Well, Northwestern's like a
Northwestern.
lock for their second tournament berth ever.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, you got all of that, and then we're not even talking about Indiana, Purdue, and so it's just a lot going on. And then when you get to the Big Ten tournament, don't ever count Wisconsin out.
Well, and I think I saw Iowa's got a high seed. I
Iowa?
kind of forgot about them.
Iowa. I mean, and so it's going to be interesting.
Illinois is
some
not
of that.
bad.
Illinois is good, and so.
Well, you know, on the February, you mentioned Stu Jackson and the all African American refereeing crew. You know, just to swing back a little bit, you mentioned those high school coaches, Al Young, Brandon Dotson at Augusta Christian, and Jerry Hunter, all African American men. You know, who have led their teams to. You know, Lawrence Kelly at Cross Creek, they fell short. They got beat in the semifinals, but he's before that back-to-back state championship African American head coach. So
The same thing. A young man at Grovetown.
Darren Douglas, Buck Harris led his team to the Final Four this year.
Are they still playing?
No, they got beat. They got beat in the Final Four.
But again, is that trying to make a difference in these young men's lives and give them the opportunity to go to college, and so much is talked about now because of AAU basketball, travel basketball, Nike teams, Adidas teams, Under Armour teams, and how the whole grassroots programs are working around the country. But we still have to make sure that the high school coaches get their due respect and gratitude for the job that they do with these kids.
Yes.
And I've watched several of these high school coaches around here practice, and their kids will be prepared when they go to college because they run college level practices.
Yep. All right. Well, I can't wait to see these conference tournaments. Come back here next week, and we'll get our brackets in line, get some people to submit theirs, and we'll see who the best future predictors are.
Yeah, and let's see. It's going to be interesting to see who rolls out the 1, 2, and 3 seeds. I think Houston, without a doubt, needs to be the overall number 1 seed. I mean, come on, man. I think they're 28-2 or 29-2.
Yeah.
And that American Conference is going to be an interesting tournament because everybody talks about Houston and Memphis, but Tulane's got a good team. Temple's got a good team. University of Central Florida, Johnny's on the hot seat a little bit.
Okay.
They need to. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
All right.
All right, brother.